It's time for this week's UpLift. Three ordinary guys that want you to find the freedom that is available by knowing our Lord Jesus Christ. So sit back and enjoy UpLift, brought to you by the Fulcrum Center. Visit our site at thefulcrumcenter.org.
Well, good evening, everybody. And as you can see here, we got the Three Musketeers here. We've got a little bit of a different crowd, though. We don't have Phil and Ian smiling faces, but we got two other smiling faces. And so I'm Chad McLeish.
And I'm Jim Brehm.
I'm Chad Farmer.
And welcome to UpLift. We're glad that you're here listening to us or watching us, whichever. I do both. I do the YouTube. I watch it on YouTube sometimes, or I'll listen to it on the podcast, just kind of whatever I have open. But we're glad you're here watching us. And Phil and Ian are both on the road tonight, and they're out of town. So while the cat's away, the mice are going to play or something like that. But so we're going to be talking tonight about a topic that I think a lot of people can relate to. So we're going to be talking tonight about changes. And, I think all of us can relate to that or share something about it. And, but this was a topic that kind of came to me yesterday at some point, because I got to thinking about what we could talk about tonight. And Chad and Jim have been experiencing a lot of recent life changes. And it's just something that really I feel like the Lord put on in my mind for us to share and discuss tonight, I think for everybody's benefit. Everybody can benefit from it. So we'll start with the other Chad. We'll leave Jim in the middle. But I wanted to kind of start off the conversation with Chad about some recent life changes, and also, the key with this in this conversation is, Chad and Jim, they really seek the Lord, obviously, for guidance in their lives, and
as much as possible.
Yeah. And they're going to be, the key takeaway is to listen to how they seek the Lord in the midst of their changes and seek His guidance.
Yeah, I guess to open up with the first thing is it's not that easy. It rolls off the tongue pretty easy about seeking the Lord and asking Him. And those are the things that, I try to remind myself and I get reminded of. And do you ever really hear it enough? And so the changes that have occurred in my life in the last few years have just been so many to list. And, just getting married a couple of years ago and transitioning, kids, going to college, just a lot of things. And my wife and I have my wife had a vision a couple of years ago about a nonprofit foundation that she has kind of just been working on, and things are really starting to unfold. And it includes a coffee shop that's a nonprofit that supports our community, and just working through those things. And these are things that I've never done before. And being a guy that's not really accustomed to a whole lot of changes, I've experienced a whole lot of them. So the fears and the anxiety that works through that stuff is just, as we know, is just not easy. Mm-hmm. And I'm a very deep-rooted guy in patterns and those kind of things, and really working my way through that, and really just trying to trust in the Lord and seek the Lord, and some of the things along the way that I've been reminded of as I seek Him. And it was I can distinctly remember what comes to mind is He just told me one day, like, Chad, you'll never have a testimony of faith if you don't have the courage to test it. So I'm testing it. And it doesn't come that easy. It comes with a lot of heartache and anxiety and fear. And what do you do with it? Well, you ask Him and seek Him in that. And as this coffee shop deal unfolds, there's been a lot of hurdles. We've never done anything like this before. So a lot of changes, and seeking Him in that. And recently, within the last couple of weeks, there's been some timelines that my wife has kind of placed on, and I think she needed that for her, to kind of work towards a goal, a date, and whatnot. And I wasn't so sure about it, in my heart and in my mind and in my seeking. I just didn't really feel like the Lord's going to give it to us when it's ready. And it wasn't by our plans. And through that process, the anxiety and fears and stuff really started to kind of well up in me. Like, man, I'm really, some of this stuff is out of my hands and trying to control it. And I was just woken up one day going, you know, I planned this and it's not working out. And it was all about me and I and my plan. And I caught myself saying that. And the Lord just clearly said to me, like, so your plan is better than my plan. And I'm like, wow, this is like first thing, like 4 a.m. I get up early, and that's when I like to talk to the Lord. And he just woke me up that way. And, of course, when my eyes opened up, my feet hit the floor, and I just, you know, started meditating on that. And the Lord was like, well, say that out loud. And I said, my plan is better than your plan. And it was, say it again. Ooh. My plan is better than your plan. And one more time. So 3 times I said that. And then it was just like this wave of, good grief. Man, I've said some really stupid things in my life. But golly, man, like it just really hit me. That may go up there. I mean, it's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever said before. And I'm like, okay, you got my attention now. Like, and that day I was down doing some painting my wife wanted me to do, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm pondering it, and it just, you know, and I'm still experiencing some anxiety about it, you know, like, man, I just don't understand why this isn't working out the way we thought it would and all this stuff. And I said, wait a minute, you know, and I was reminded by that. And I just went into the couch and sat down and had a little conversation with my wife, and I was just like, you know, it is his plan, and it's okay. Like, it is okay. And just a wave of peace come over me, and just like, okay, I went back and finished my painting. But the things have unfolded because our plan hasn't panned out, have just been really incredible. The people that we've come in contact with, the people that we've been able to see. There's a senior living apartment building across the street that we've just been, I mean, it's directly across the street from our coffee shop. And the people we've been able to interact with has been just God's plan. And I'm just really humbled by it, really incredibly humbled by it.
Mm-hmm. So he's brought people into your life, into your circle.
Oh, absolutely. And like, you know, I joke about this, but it's true. I'm like a coffee black kind of guy, you know, like 10W40, like it doesn't matter to me. Like if it's got caffeine in it, like I like a good cup of coffee, but if it's got caffeine in it, I'll drink it, man. Like I'll drink it. So we're having all these coffee samples and whatnot. Some of it's good. Some of it's better than others. And, you know, so as I'm walking over to this senior center, there, you know, I meet this great gentleman who's 95 years old, and we just have a conversation. He's a Christian man, and I've been so incredibly blessed by the Lord putting us together in that space, and got to pray with him. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, he makes the coffee at this senior center every morning. Wow. He's 95 and makes the coffee. Like, it's truly incredible. And his mind is really sharp. And we just pray together, talk about the Lord and how the Lord's worked in his life, and what an incredible wealth of knowledge. And he remembers things. And I feel led to go speak to him like almost daily. Mm-hmm. And we have a wonderful relationship. Like, I've just really grown in a very short period of time just to love him. And, so as I'm walking back across the street after the first day of meeting this guy, I think to myself, like, the Lord puts it on my heart, well, who better? Like, it doesn't matter to you what kind of coffee we got. Like, but I've got all these samples of coffee, and I'm like, there's like 15 people over there been drinking coffee longer than I've been alive. Like, who better to sample this coffee? Right. Like, you know that they're going to give you a wholehearted opinion, whether you want it or not. They're going to give it to you, which is great. And that's really all I wanted. So I went over and got like the first pound of coffee and run it through the grinder. It smelled great. And I take it over and just kind of run it down to them. Like, here's what I want to do here. Like, I'll bring you all coffee. Like, I just want an opinion on what you think of it. Yeah. Like, these are the people who's going to be drinking our coffee. Yeah. And, the relationships, the people that I've met, the conversations. I was there this afternoon. I went on a walk and then just stopped in there. And there's my buddy and there's a couple of women there, and just had a wonderful conversation, all based on this. So it is God's plan, and
if you'd have opened on time,
yeah,
you wouldn't have had the time on your hands to go make that first visit.
Absolutely. Like, it would have just been like down to business, like doing it my way.
Yeah.
Like nose to the grindstone. Let's get this going. Like, and it also just continues to remind me, like this is a ministry to the Lord. Like we're going to have good coffee, but it's not really all about coffee. It's about community and service and doing something fresh and new to support our community, all to glorify God, to glorify Him. That's what it's about. And it's just been incredible, the people that we've met along this journey. It's been so awesome. I would have never imagined it'd be this good.
Right.
I'm humbled and blessed by it. My wife and I really are.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, so a little bit about your background, just a brief background. You've been on this UpLift show before, but
I have.
So you've gone from being a United States Marine soldier to heavy equipment operator,
coal miner, worked at a prison. Yeah,
prison
changes.
Guard.
Yeah.
So if you've noticed, from the outside looking in, as a guy who's worked in construction estimating for the last 25 years for the same company, from the outside in looking in at Chad Farmer, it's like, okay, you've taken all these steps to prepare yourself with all this different variety of careers and situations. You've been prepared with all this different, these experiences and the different things that you've been exposed to in your life that to really reach a broad range of people.
Right.
Well, I think, I was thinking about this the other day, Chad, now that you bring that up, and looking back on that, just doing a little reflection. And, my wife's a pastor, so she challenges me quite a bit. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes I feel like it's not so good. Like, I feel like she's picking on me sometimes, but
I'm sure
it's
she's
okay. I don't know if I'll ever get like the Star Pupil Award, but I get the dunce cap quite a bit. Yeah.
Right.
So, just through that journey, I was just really thinking about it. And as we was talking about writing, she wanted to do this exercise about writing your life story. And I'm like, man, she says, what's your earliest memory? And I'm like, well, I don't really remember a whole lot about my childhood. And it started with, she said, well, do you remember kindergarten? And no, I remember some people, like the people I grew up with and my neighbor and my oldest friend and that kind of thing. And it was, second grade, third grade. And then like fourth grade, it was like, ooh. Yeah, I remember some stuff about that, and things that I maybe carried some resentment for and some needed to repent for too, also, So as I'm going through this life story journey, and we get to the part about like you're talking about, Chad, like, man, I have experienced a lot of changes, and it's come full circle. Like, God has a plan for us all is the one thing that really hit me hard. Like, I've struggled in a lot of ways, and so many things were just self-inflicted, and serving all around the world in the Marine Corps, and it's just been a real journey, and it's brought me here to this coffee shop to be able to, like I said, this is what we want to do. We want to glorify the Lord. Like, I've done so many things, and the one thing that I know is I don't know. What I really want to do. The only thing that I want to do, and, my wife and I has kicked this around for a while too, like, what do you really want to do? She says, Chad, have you ever asked the Lord? Like, what do you want to do? You've always done these things, and you've been good at them. Like, I hope that doesn't come across like arrogantly, but I'm a good employee. Like, I show up for work, and I do my job, and I take pride in what I do, and but I've always kind of like, for lack of a better term, work for the man. Like, you work for a paycheck and whatnot, and meeting Ian was a big eye-opening thing for me. Like, man, like, I'm just really intrigued by this guy, like what he does. Like, I want to do what you do.
Yeah.
Like, like, you live by faith and walk by faith, and like, how do I get there? And then that's how a friendship and a relationship and a mentorship, and you could probably describe it in 20 other ways, started to unfold, and meeting you guys and meeting regularly and just getting perspectives on things as But yeah, that's the thing. I really just realized all of the things, all of it's in God's plan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just really submitting to that, seeking and obeying. And those are other words that are like roll off the tongue pretty easy until you try to apply them.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. Like, I wouldn't change it.
Right.
I wouldn't change it. Like, everything, all the pain, all the hurt. And not that it's easy now. It's just I know where to go with it all. And that's it. I just, I sleep better. I know where to go with it.
Yeah.
And I heal quicker. I find fault in myself much quicker, blame myself quicker. Like, I realize my faults and where I'm deficient at. And easier. I'm sure that probably doesn't apply in everything. Just like anybody else, it takes a tremendous amount of practice. But
well, and you don't have to dwell on it now because you know where to take it.
Oh, that's it right there, Jim. And man, you said a mouthful right there. Like, we could talk about that all night if you wanted to. But that's it. It's just knowing where to go with it and give it away. And the people that I've met through this journey, I'm so accustomed to going places and, people just want to talk about the football games and the weather and just the normal everyday stuff, like just small talk. Like, how's the Lord working in your life? How is your relationship right now? Those are the things that are important to me. It's just really refining the people that's in my life. And the Lord has just continued to put people in my life by His plan and not mine. And it's been just great. And thank you guys for being a part of it, man. I really appreciate that, like, wholeheartedly. Yeah. We've talked about this before, but hey, we're on air, and I'm going to take an opportunity to say thanks. Yeah, love you guys and appreciate you.
Yeah, we have a great group. We have a men's group that gets together once a week at least, and you guys get together probably more often through the week because this is perfect. So Jim's story is Jim used to minister to people at the Kroger.
Yes.
And now he ministers to people here at our church food pantry, which Chad also worked at. So these guys worked together hand in hand for a couple of years.
While,
yeah. At our church pantry, so that transition, Chad has transitioned out of that to transition into the coffee shop. But Jim is now and we have an unofficial term or title for Jim that we won't necessarily share on air. But
yes, we don't need that.
We don't need to go there. But Jim is in charge of our church food pantry here, and that's been an interesting change. So Jim is retired from Kroger to doing a food pantry and serving basically the church, and a much bigger way. And you're also having some change in your personal life. Yeah. You're downsizing and your living arrangements.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as Chad has changed rapidly over the years, if you will, my life is kind of the opposite. I worked for the same company for 48 years, 2 different buildings, but belonged to the same denomination for 66 years. I have been married for 42 years. I lived in the same house for 45 years. So I've been in, from the outside anyway, people would think I haven't had much change at all. And then I retired a little more than a year ago. And I've been doing a food pantry here. And now it's time to sell the house that I've built and move into a smaller place because the house is too big. And there was some stress with that because you say, it's change and I'm not as used to change as maybe Chad is. Right. But the end is still the same. I let it bother me for a very short period of time that, we were actually leaving this house where we raised our kids and, it means a lot to you. But at the same time, we walked into this townhouse that we're going to move into, and I walked around and God clearly said, no, this is the place where you need to be now. Mm-hmm. And I tried to argue. I mean, I've been praying ever since my wife decided that we needed to downsize.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah. But, I've been praying, God, whatever it is you want me to do, that's okay with me, but you got to show me. I need to see what it is. And I think for part of that time at least, that was my prayer, but I wasn't really listening for the answer because I already had my answer. Yeah. So if I can go one step beyond asking, you still need to listen. And, because sometimes you can go and ask and not necessarily get the, you get the answer if you listen for it. But now lots of times you don't really listen. You want to go ahead and do it your way,
Man, Jim, I don't mean to interject, man, but that's such a great point, and the one that I've been reminded of. We was talking about before we kind of got on air, but just ask is such an easy thing to say, but
right.
To coattail that, listening, making the time, putting yourself in a space to hear an answer.
To hear the answer, absolutely.
Yeah, for the Lord to give you an answer, and however, that's revealed to you. I know a lot of people, it's dreams and visions and stuff like that, or words or scripture or whatever. It's just so many different ways, and it's changed for me how the Lord speaks to me over the years, and it's pretty incredible, like how it works. It's just so amazing, and I hope that never gets old to me. But yeah, ask, but you got to make the time. You got to make the time to listen and reflect and meditate on it, and sometimes
you make a really good point there, because I was asking God, and I think I was waiting for a verbal response. Like I was expecting God to give me a street address or something.
Yeah.
And we looked at a couple places and it was like, no, I don't want to live here. And then we went in this one, and it, without any words.
Yeah.
But I knew, like, as soon as we walked up the steps into this place, that this was where God intended me to be. And like God, because he always likes to mess with you just a little bit. But we're looking at the apartment, and a woman that's showing us the apartment says, well, she said, we already have an application for this one, but we can, put your name down if you're interested in one in the future. And my wife said, well, how often do they come open? She said, well, honestly, we haven't had an opening in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So part of me was a little bit relieved, like, oh, I got 2 years.
Yeah.
And part of me was, well, God, like, you let me know that this was it. Is this not it? And, am I misunderstanding something? And then a couple of days later, we get the call that the person that had applied had changed his mind and the apartment was available.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, God's plan.
It was God's plan.
Yeah, that's it.
It falls in line as long as you can just,
Yeah, it does. And
quit digging your heels in.
Yeah, well, just like you said, sometimes, like I had a conversation with a friend last night, and she was just saying, when you know, like you said, like, and Ian had given his, what are the spiritual gifts cards, and it was the one he had given me one time, and it said "Embrace the Process" on there. And man, it's a bookmark in my Bible, and I refer to it as often as I need to, and the Lord gives it to me often, like embrace the process. And just like you're talking about, going around and like searching for a place that you kind of, I guess, you don't want to give up. Yeah. You don't want to change.
Right. I mean,
you're just accustomed to being there.
I'm accustomed to not changing. Yeah. Retirement was enough of a change for me. Yeah. I figured I'd wait about 30 years and then change something again.
Well, and getting back to earlier, we was talking about just you kind of been doing the same thing for a long time, seemingly, and the changes that have occurred and unfolded in my life, and coming together in fellowship and brotherhood.
Yes.
And how the Lord plays a factor in all of that is so incredibly powerful. The perspective that we bounce off of each other it is just great. Like, we kind of joke with Chad. He's the executive. He goes in. He's got they kind of one of the pinkies up kind of guys. Sometimes we joke with him about. I don't mean that, but it's just different perspectives on how we live our lives and how we feel led and that kind of thing. But when we come together, like the one common bond that we'll always share is our love for the Lord and seeking Jesus and how that works. And I find it incredibly fascinating. It never gets old. It's something that I don't get sick of talking about.
Right.
Yeah. And we each approach it from a unique way.
Oh, that's
All of
it
us.
right there. Yes. Yes.
We have diverse backgrounds and experiences in life.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Buzzkill Phil's not here tonight, so I get to take that role and say, we're almost out of time.
Yeah, almost out of time.
But one thing when you guys were talking, one thing that came to my mind as you guys were talking and listening to you, and it was a great conversation. But one thing that comes to my mind is God knows how to work that Rubik's Cube. If you were a kid, you had a lot of people had a Rubik's Cube when they were a kid.
Well, you are Phil.
I said I got to take his spot here tonight a little bit. But, it's like, you could sit there and mess with that thing for days and not get it. But God knows how to make the moves, like with the apartment situation and even in this coffee shop situation, even though it's not just coming together step by step, he probably has a reason for that. And, he protects us in ways that we'll never understand or we probably never know. And sometimes he slows us down when we need to be slowed down. Sometimes he speeds us up when we need to be sped up. And he understands all that better than we could. But he makes moves that are incredible that we could never make ourselves or understand.
No.
Yeah.
Because he can change and shift other people's hearts in situations. Just in miraculous ways that obviously there's no way we could do our own. So. Yeah, good stuff.
I wouldn't be sitting right here without him, and I'm humbled and blessed to be here. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So, we definitely appreciate you all listening tonight, and it was a great conversation, and it was fun to be here. We always have fun.
Yeah.
You always have a great time talking to each other.
I always hear you say how fast it goes, but it goes fast.
Yeah, it really does. It's like, oh man, we're going to talk for 30 minutes or whatever, and you're like, whoa. Yeah, where did time go?
Yeah, and we could go another hour.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all right. Leave them wanting more a little bit.
Yeah.
But so we can do this again. But I'm sure Ian and Phil miss having you guys here. But we had a good time tonight. And
I never thought, with them not here, we should have thought badmouth pastors.
Well, we can do that next time. Just remember that.
Well, he's got to be careful.
Yeah, easy.
He's got to go home.
Easy, guys. Easy, man. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Male pastors. We'll just specifically hone that in on Phil and
be
Ian.
Specific. Yeah.
It's great being here.
Maybe we'll have Allison on. And she can join us.
Hey, listen. I'm sure I'd be surprised if she'd say no. If she felt led, she'd be here for sure.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. You'd have to probably. I don't know. She'd probably burn these microphones up here.
We give her a 1 hour special.
Yeah, give her a 1 hour special. She'd take 2, I'm sure. She can do it, man. She's full of fire. She's great.
Yeah. Well, we hope you got something out of this tonight. We sure did. It's always great, just kind of sharing everyday interactions and everyday situations and practical ways to seek God in those situations, which, Jim and Chad, they do. They just do. And, sometimes we do it the hard way and not the easy way. But we're learning as we go.
Yeah, a guy reminded me before we close out, Chad. He reminded me today. An inch is a cinch, and a yard is hard. It's a little bit at a time, and you got to try. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff. Well, we thank you for joining us, and reach out to Phil or Ian, or I'm sure their information's on the Fulcrum social media and things where this gets shared. So reach out to them with any prayer requests or topics that you'd like us to talk about. And if you'd like to see Chad and Jim on here more, send them an email and let them know about that as well. And we just thank you for joining us, and have a great week.
Good night.